G'day, guys. Welcome back to the Pittsburgh Steelers Syndicate. And today, guys, we're doing a joint podcast to really, air our frustrations, but also lay down the foundation of what we think this team is going through right now with the culture, with the head coach, the offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. And that's why today's title is it time for the Pittsburgh Steelers to clean house? We're going to go through, hopefully logically, through the steps for offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, and head coach Mike Tomlin. Should they be fired? That's pretty much the premise of today's video. Because yesterday, man, Owen, it was tough, right? It was a tough game to see that, right? 38-3. I know it was, for me, it was really hard to watch. For me, the last 3 or 4 years in these kind of games, it's been hard to watch. And we all have our opinions, right? We all have our stuff about fire Canada, fire, Terrell Austin. And this is probably the show for you guys to air your grievances right now and fire Tomlin. And also, let's have some reasons too. We can't just say why we want to fire them. We've got to have a reason and maybe a solution. We're trying to figure that out. Mm-hmm. But Owen, how are you feeling so far about after yesterday?
I'm disgusted. I'm absolutely disgusted. And one thing I want to get off my chest is, look, I'm not frustrated or angry because they lost. I can accept that the Steelers don't win all the time. I'm a realistic fan. Look, we're not going to go 17-0. We're not going to win the Super Bowl every year. Fact. What I am angry about is how they played. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to hear this. Oh, you're a fair weather fan. Oh, you don't get it because you didn't live through the 60s or the early 80s or whatever. Okay, I get that, but it's not it's not the fact they lost. It's the fact they did not play at all yesterday. They didn't turn up, with the exception of Pickens, Warren, and that's pretty much it. They didn't turn up yesterday, and that's what annoys me, Mark.
I got accused of being called, being called, I think, spoiled or something like that. Overall, was kind of crazy, but no, I agree with you. Just because you have time on your side, having time on your side does not make you a better fan than anyone else, right? I'm not going to say judging anyone's fan status or whatnot, but that is a legitimate thing. They played pretty horrible, and we need to call them out. But I think today's show is going to be designed for that. So let's get right into it. And we're going to start with the offensive coordinator, then defensive coordinator, and then Mike Tomlin, head coach. And pretty much put your answers, comments below. But should the Steelers, actually, I'm going to ask you a question, Owen. The overall question: is it time for the Steelers to clean house?
To some degree, yeah, I think there is. Changes need to be made. I mean, if you look at since 2018, if you take the last 5 years now we're coming up for, the records, it's not been good. It's not been great. I mean, 2018 we went 9-6-1. 2019, I know that was when Ben went down. We went 8-0. 2020 was a bit of a fluke in 12-4-0, but realistically that wasn't a good. Okay, we went 11-0, but then we lost. We went, was it 1-4 to end the season? 1-5 if you count the Browns playoff defeat. And then last year we went 9-7-1, and now we're 1-4. So the last 5 seasons have not been great if we're being absolutely honest. And there's been something fundamentally wrong in the organization.
Big time. To me, it's not time to clean house, because I think cleaning house right now is saying you're getting rid of every single coach, and we're talking about today, which I think logically you can't do. You can't fire offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, and Coach Tomlin tomorrow. If you fire everyone, you have no one to lead the team. So let's start with offensive coordinator Matt Canada. Let's break this down a little bit. Is it time for the Steelers to move on and fire Matt Canada? And I'm saying, like, right now, I'm saying, like, there needs to be change. Is it time, Owen? And I think you and I are going to agree on this. Is it time right now?
Yeah, 100%. He's got to go. His job was saved last year by Ben Roethlisberger. The Steelers won 7 of their 9 games with fourth quarter comebacks. If you go back and watch those games, they've all got one thing in common. It's Ben drawing up plays in the dirt, going up tempo, no huddle offense, him calling the plays, not Matt Canada. And that's what that saved him. And he's showing this year that no matter who the quarterback is, and now he's got a quarterback that fits his system to a T, he still cannot get it done. He still cannot get it done. And the fans out there saying this is on Pickett, blame Pickett, do not know what they're talking about. Watch the game again. Pickett played well. It was the scheme that let Pickett down. 100%.
Let's drive over. Let's drive over to the corner and park for a little bit. The fans calling out Pickett in 1.5 games. Please watch the whole season and please watch the game and not the highlights. Do not check the stats. It is not Pickett's fault in this game. And I didn't really want to go to the podcast into the players too much. I wanted more to focus on the coaching. It is not Pickett's problem. And some are saying, well, people are like, well, Trubisky was better. We told you. No, he's not. Trubisky is not better. This, to me, falls on Matt Canada. And in my opinion, Pickett played his best with the opportunity that he had. They expanded the football in the first drive and went 12 plays, I think 6 minutes, 80-odd yards or whatever they did to get 3 points, right? It would look pretty good. They were throwing the football around. They were doing their best. The next 3 drives was run, and then pass, punt, and that was it. They went backwards, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. In my opinion, I believe also they need to fire Matt Canada tomorrow. They need to get rid of him right now, and I believe it is the quarterback's coach, JT O'Sullivan. Is that correct? That's the guy, right?
Mike Sullivan.
Oh, Mike Sullivan. My bad. JT O'Sullivan's probably another dude. Anyways,
Mike Sullivan. Yeah, ex-quarterback JT O'Sullivan. He's been on behind the steel curtain.
There you go. Put in Mike O'Sullivan. I don't care what his play is. Whatever Canada's doing for this system, and you brought up in your broadcast, Britsburgh broadcast, I think today, and you said that he doesn't know what to do with the players. Correct? He can't scheme. How can you not scheme? Pickens played well, and Muth played well until he got injured. Okay, he can't scheme these plays to success. The O-line is doing okay, not great, not good this game. Kenny Pickett's a rookie, and sure, but he's out there throwing 50 times a game. It's just not cricket. But to me, he's not putting him in the best place to win. And schematically, we've seen the same thing over and over again. Can you elaborate on what Matt Canada's doing with the plays and how it's not working? So far, you and I want him fired, which is, we're 1-0 right now.
If you watch the game, it is so predictable. It's so predictable. It's run the ball up the middle, run the ball up the middle against one of the best rushing defenses in the NFL. We run the ball up the middle. We don't get anywhere. We then have a 3rd and long. We then throw a screen pass because that's what Canada's called. And then the screen pass gets caught by Najee Harris, Jalen Warren, Deontay Johnson. And immediately that wide receiver, that running back has got 3-4 linebackers on him and a defensive lineman. Where's he going to go? Nowhere. He's going to get stuffed in the backfield. It just doesn't work. There's no imagination to the plays whatsoever. There's no expanding the field. George Pickens is by far the best wide receiver on this team. It's undisputable. Yet he doesn't target him anywhere near enough. He does not target him enough. The guy is getting open no matter what, no matter how many men are on him. He's getting the ball. He's coming down with the ball. He's just not targeting him. Canada's up there in the booth. What is he watching? Is he even watching the game, or is he watching, I don't know, Friends or Family Guy, and just sitting there with a script and going, yeah, do that one, yeah, do that one, do that one. What's he doing?
He's watching a different game. He's actually watching the NFL Game Pass that you and I watch. He's got the international one, the VPN. Yeah. He's out there. I don't know. I think overall, I think he's incompetent. I think it's the most boring offense I've seen the Steelers ever play. It's predictable. And if I go through a few stats too, I love this site. I don't know if you heard this site. It's called teamrankings.com. It pretty much ranks the teams from 1 to 32 in the NFL. Score NFL team offensive touchdowns per game. The Pittsburgh Steelers are ranked 30 with 1.2. They are tied with Denver and the Colts. And we all know how bad Denver right now with Russ Wynn and the Colts are playing in that debacle game of they couldn't score a touchdown. Pittsburgh Steelers are tied with 1.2. And without the Kenny Pickett 2 touchdowns, they would be probably 0.6 or 0.8 per game. Matt Canada cannot design a good offense. It seems like every single week you go through the motions and nothing changes. And they have the talented players with a good O-line. James General comes in. They have a new rookie quarterback that I think they go out there and excel or can at least play good to better. They have the receivers that can get around. Even though I'm done with Claypool, he did put him in a position to win yesterday with short passes and stuff like that. And DJ was, should have been catching footballs, but he's just not doing enough things to go out there and score points. They went out and scored 3 points. It can't happen. Let's do this, Owen. Let's do each subject for 10 minutes. What are your final thoughts on Matt Canada? I want him fired tomorrow. What are your final thoughts on this bloke?
Fire him, sack him. He's not up to the job. And I mean, you've just got to watch his press conferences to know that he hasn't got a clue what he's talking about. He stands there and he doesn't answer the question. He just is rude to reporters. He looks out of his depth. He looks uncomfortable. His body language says he's uncomfortable. He's got to go. He just hasn't got a clue.
Alrighty, and if you guys, want to put in the comments too, let us know what's going on. We do read all the comments, and we write back to most of them. The ones that we write back to, though, if you are, of course, being a troll to us or mean in some way or calling us names, we will simply block you. We do not tolerate that around here at all. So if you write anything like, "Hey, you're both stupid, you have no idea what you're talking about," then you'll be blocked and you'll never ever hear from us again because you have no access to the page, and that's a fact, right? But we do read all the other comments, and we like to see what you guys' opinion is. In my opinion and Owen's opinion, we want Matt Canada fired tomorrow, right? That's done. That needs to happen. Now, moving on to the defensive coordinator, and is it time for the Steelers to clean house? Terrell Austin. And I'm going to probably have a different opinion with you, Owen, but we'll see how it goes. Overall, is it time to fire Terrell Austin right now?
I would demote him. I would demote him.
Okay, let's walk through that. Let's walk through it.
So what I would do is, if you look at the Steelers secondary is struggling big time. Austin is a good secondary coach. Don't get me wrong. He's a very good secondary coach. He's not a good defensive coordinator, as he proved with his time with the Lions and his time with the Bengals. Move Austin back to being a defensive backs coach. Promote Brian Flores to defensive coordinator. That is the best way forward for me. Now, you can give it all this, oh, we've got injuries, blah, blah, blah. But as Cam Hayward himself said yesterday in his post-match availability, we've got to stop blaming the injuries and looking for excuses. It doesn't wash anymore. And you know what? And if anyone comes here on this page now and says, oh, but they're tired because of the offense, let me just share this stat with you from yesterday. Time of possession yesterday. Pittsburgh Steelers, 36 minutes, 8 seconds. Buffalo Bills, 23 minutes, 52 seconds. So therefore, by that argument, why are the Bills' defense not tired?
Well, in that case, we finally had time possession of the football, but they were just scoring too early. In my opinion, I don't think it's time to fire Terrell Austin just yet. Now, is there a bit of pressure? 110% there needs to be pressure because they allowed 38 points. And they can't stop the run. And they seem like they're lazy football players out there from the defensive line, and Cameron Hayward's trying his best, but every time he's making excuses. In the back of his mind, he's like, I'm trying my hardest, and the other 10 blokes around me aren't doing their best either. Now, there's some bright spots with Miles Jack, some bright spots with Minkah Fitzpatrick. They also had no Terrell Edmonds, but I think it comes down to a schematic thing. How do you allow, Owen, and we're going to talk about this too, how do you allow a 98-yard pass the first time since 1960, I believe, or 1960s, longest Steelers pass allowed in a long time. And I think since the first pass since like 2009 or something was 98 pass in the NFL. How do you schematically allow that? I was happy with the Trey Norwood tackle. I was happy with the Leal put his hand up. I was happy with the Miles Jack Cameron Hayward tackle. And it was 3rd and 10, and they allowed a 98-yard pass. Minkah ran down into the box to blitz. Trey Norwood over pursued the cornerback. See you later, mate. Got beyond the defense, and the game was pretty much done. How do you allow that?
There was no excuse. The secondary yesterday got burned time and time and time again. Buffalo averaged 12 yards per pass. 12 yards. So it's over a first down per pass. The secondary just got burnt. And I know there's injuries there. I get that. 100% get it. But that's not an excuse. As Cam said yesterday, every team in the NFL has injuries. Buffalo yesterday, no Poyer, no Hyde. Their 2 starting safeties, both out. If we only had one of our starting safeties out. If we didn't have both our starting safeties, we'd have Killebrew and Norwood playing safety. Is that good enough? No, it's not. And at the end of the day, it's the scheme that isn't working. And if you look as well, why is Josh Allen able to pass the ball for that 98-yard pass? Why was he able to throw that long pass to Gabe Davis in the second half? Why was he able to pass 12 yards constantly as average pass? Because there was zero pressure on him. He had all day. He could have sat down, made himself a cup of coffee, drank his cup of coffee, then thrown the ball, and still found a receiver wide open because there's just no pressure. And that's the scheme. You can't tell me that overnight Cam Hayward, Montrevious Adams, Larry Ogunjobi when he was on the field, Miles Jack, Alex Highsmith, even Malik Reed, have become bad players overnight. They haven't. It's what is being schemed for them. Keith Butler got more out of this lot last year in games that Watt missed. It's the scheme that is in place that is not working. It's just not working. And that's the problem. It's the coaching that is letting this team down. This defense is a $108 million defense. There's no excuse for it. He's got all the tools that he needs to have a good defense. It's his scheme that is not working. And whether Tomlin's in there getting involved and fiddling with the defense, I don't know. But for me, demote Austin back to defensive to that DB coach if he'll take it. Tomlin, get your nose out. You can't call a defense, and let Brian Flores call the defense. That's what I think should happen.
That's a good call, because I really don't have I know we need, a solution to this problem too. You can't just go say fire everyone. If you fire everyone, you're in a bit of trouble. But I looked at the stats just then too, and it looks like that the stats from yesterday's game is 21 first downs for the Buffalo Bills, 15 passing yards, 4 rushing, but the Steelers had 23 first downs, which is more, right? Now, they were 5 for 9 on third down. The Steelers are 5 for 15, which is horrible. We were 4th down, 0 and 3, which is horrible too. Total plays, they had 54. Buffalo had 54 total plays and 552 yards, one of the worst outings ever. 13 drives, and yards per play was, like you said, 10. Well, you said 13 per pass, but 10 yards per play.
Yeah.
10 yards per play for the whole team is terrible. And like you told me off there, if Josh Allen plays the whole game, he lights us up. They had 31 the first half. They could have easily put on 31 the second half and made it a college score of 61 to whatever. But there's no point doing that. Yeah. So for me with this stuff, I think there needs to be pressure on Austin, and I think scheme wise, it's just not cutting the mustard, is it? The defensive backs aren't where they need to be. For some reason, they put Leal in a roaming position with 2 middle linebackers, and he was a delayed blitz, which didn't make any difference. I didn't understand that way. His hand was in the dirt. I didn't understand why you're putting out Spillane there all the time. I don't understand how I guess you had to put in, is it Josh Jackson, the cornerback for you had to put him in because of the injuries, right? Cameron Sutton's out there. There's no okay. Who are the players you think is trying the hardest on defense? What players?
Miles Jack, I think, had a good game again yesterday. He is trying his heart out. He's probably, to be honest with you, if you're Miles Jack, you're probably thinking, what on earth have I done wrong, man? Gone from Jacksonville last year where we were getting beat right, left, and centre. I come to Pittsburgh where I think I've got an opportunity to be successful, and I'm doing just as bad. What am I doing wrong? You must have run over a black cat or something. But yeah, Miles Jack, definitely. And Cam Hayward, you can't fault Cam. He puts his heart, body, and soul into every single game. If I was Cam Hayward, I'd be absolute. I'd want to punch somebody in that locker room. I really would.
You'd be thinking, like, do I want to even ask for a trade and go somewhere else in my last 2 years to get a chance to get a ring? Possibly you could be asking that, right? There's loyalty to the brand, loyalty to the team. At the same time, your value as a player. Yeah, for me too. It's Minka's trying his hardest, but he was a little bit injured. Cam, Miles Jack, those dudes. But overall, I think the schematic wise for this defense is just poor. Overall, poor. Any real final thoughts on what needs to happen? Is it just, and will it happen? Will they make the change with Brian Flores? Is there an escape? Is it more just fan talk right now?
It's just fan talk. I think it's stubborn, and also you've got to deal with the stubbornness of the organization and I think, as I said yesterday on the post-game show, the Steeler way, which makes me want to puke. Which I've got criticism for slagging off this morning, but yeah, it's not the Steeler way. No, I don't think they'll make any changes up to the defensive staff. I think they'll leave the defensive staff as it is because that's just how it is. I can't see that. The only thing I can see is perhaps Mike Tomlin interfering even more in the defense.
He did talk about, though, in the last final point before we moved to Mike Tomlin and his chance to be fired. So, in my thing, I don't think they fire Austin. You believe that they might not fire him, but they need to demote him, which is a good answer too. But Tomlin talked about changing if there will be changes made. Will there be changes made on this defense? Do you think players will come in like Loudermilk or anyone else? Is something going to change on the defense?
Something's got to change in the defense. I think Spillane has got to go to the practice squad or something. He is just, I mean, I'm not being funny. I could put my 70-year-old mother out there and she'd have more effect than Robert Spillane does. He's absolutely hopeless. I mean, he's stealing a living, that man is. Mark Robinson, put him in. He's a rookie. And people say, oh, well, he's a rookie, he might do bad. Well, yeah, Robert Spillane's doing bad. So what's the difference? And Robinson actually played quite well preseason. So I'd give Robinson a shot instead of Spillane. And Loudermilk, I honestly do not get why they're not playing Loudermilk. His strength is run defense. That's what he's there for. His pass rush isn't great, I know that, but his run defense is fantastic. And that's why they went for him. But yet they don't want to play him, and the run defense is garbage. I don't get it.
Alrighty, so let's move into our last, question of the show. And the show is basically, is it time for the Pittsburgh Steelers to clean house? Now, this is the big one, and I think we're going to agree on this one because we did talk off air for a little bit, but we'll talk through this, right? Will they fire Mike Tomlin tomorrow? We've been doing the same notion, right? Will they fire Matt Canada tomorrow? Will they fire Austin tomorrow? Will they fire Mike Tomlin tomorrow? Should they fire Mike Tomlin? The
No.
Rooney, should they do it?
No.
Okay.
No, because two reasons why. One, what are you going to do? Who are you going to replace him with? Because let's face it, usually if you sack the head coach, you would promote your offensive coordinator or your defensive coordinator to your head coach's job, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah. Who do you promote? Do you promote Terrell Austin? No, because the defense is awful. Do you promote Matt Canada? No. No, because so there's nothing out there. There's no, you can't do it. And also the fact that, yes, it is partly down to Tomlin, but I don't think it's solely down to Tomlin. It's not solely down to him. But he's got to now come under pressure. He's now got to realize, I think Art Rooney's got to have him into his office and say, look, you need to do something, and you need to do something now. You need to improve this, and you need to improve this now. Consider this a warning. He's got to be put on the hot seat, don't you think, Mark?
100%. He needs to be on the hot seat, but I agree with you, and I don't think he should fire Tomlin because I think the way you get out of this is by firing one of the other two guys. And I think the easiest cat in the room to fire, well, that's a bad analogy, but the easiest person to fire in the room is Matt Canada. The offense is struggling. And we can't win without TJ Watt, and it's going to be different when he gets back, and Kazi when he gets back too. And of course, Edmonds was out. A lot of players are out, right? And
Yeah.
I think you can scheme better on defense, hopefully, and do what you said. Get Flores more involved. He used to be a head coach. If you go out and fire Tomlin tomorrow, you're exactly right. Who's going to fill in? Is it Matt Canada or Terrell Austin? You can't just get someone off the street. And of course, to answer the main question, is it time to clean house? I'm talking about cleaning house tomorrow. I'm not saying clean house in 2 years' time or next year or whatever. I'm talking tomorrow. And it's not time to clean house, no. It's time to tidy up a little bit, get rid of Canada. But overall, I guess some people will call me a Tomlin apologist. I don't really understand that. I'm a supporter of the team. I'm a supporter of what Coach Tomlin has done. And I do like what he's done in the past. And I still think he can turn this around. But he needs to make some changes. Needs to make some big changes. Now, of course, we haven't won a playoff game. It was Bill Cowher's team. All those things happen, right? I understand that, okay? But give me a reason why we should go and fire Tomlin tomorrow. That's what I want to know. If I live in my fears and I live in my past that Tomlin was excellent with the Super Bowls, why are we firing Tomlin today? Is it because he can't make it to the playoffs? Overall, I do think to a certain degree, the Steelers fans are a little bit spoiled from what we've seen in 20 years. I've been watching this since 2004, and I've never had a losing season, I don't think, in my time. Or every time I've turned on the TV since I was 12 years old, we've had a chance to go to the playoffs. And we still have a chance to go to the playoffs right now. The AFC North is a bit of a dumpster fire right now. The Ravens are 3-2, Browns are 2-2. The Bengals are 2-3, and we sit there at 1-4, 2 games back without versing the Ravens yet. It is not time to fire Tomlin. However, it is time to put a bit of pressure. And hopefully you guys watch this whole podcast and don't just see the title and put in, fire Tomlin and then walk away and go have lunch. You got to see the whole thing. To me, there's a bit of pressure on Tomlin to say, hey, if you make a move, and people don't give him credit for bringing in Kenny Pickett, do they? No. He brought in Kenny Pickett. And I think needs to have some credibility to that. He went for 4th down last week, and it was a fantastic call. They only ever see the real negatives with Tomlin. They only ever see that. And we lost this game. We're going to Buffalo's house. Yes, we shouldn't have lost like that. Not at all. 38-3 is a bad look. We shouldn't have lost like that. But there needs to be accountability. And the accountability to me is for Tomlin to sit Matt Canada down and say, you know what? Your offense stinks. You're terrible. We're going to go with Sullivan and move on, and we're going to say, see you later, Matt Canada. I've had enough of you. And that would send a message to only the players. Be like, actually, anyone can be fired. If we can fire the offensive coordinator, anyone can be next. I don't care if you're Benny Snell. I don't care if you're Trubisky on the bench. I don't care if you're Marcus Allen. Anyone can be fired. They've got to send a message. Tomlin needs to take control of this team. And that's one of the problems too, I think. People are saying, well, he hasn't got control of the team. He hasn't got control of the locker room. And I agree with that. He hasn't got control of the locker room right now because they're all over the shop and they're losing 38-3. That's my rant anyway on the fire Tomlin stuff. I can't handle it. I think he can still come back. Because at some point, Owen, do you think some fans just want to see the team do badly so they know they're correct?
Yeah, I think there's a definite possibility of that, definitely. And I think you're right, Mark. It's not a time to actually completely and utterly chuck out everything. It's not a time to throw the baby out with the bathwater, is it? It's not a time to do everything to this. Yes, I think if this turns out to be his first losing season, the franchise's first losing season since 2003 was the last time we had a losing season. We went 6-10. But if that is the case, then yes, at the end of the season, we sit down. Not us, but obviously the organization sit down. Art Root, the Rooneys, Tomlin, sit down as a group. Omar Khan, Andy Vidal, all those guys sit down and they review it and they look at what the best way forward for the franchise is. Yes, I think that has to happen at the season's end. But all those people out there saying, fire Tomlin now, fire Tomlin now. Okay, right. So Rooney calls him into his office this afternoon. He fires him, right? What's your plan? What's your plan? Who do you get?
That's it.
Who do you get? You get some coach that's out of work. Well, why is he out of work? Because he's been sacked because he isn't any good. Sean Payton is not going to come to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's just deal with that now because of the fact that he's still under contract to New Orleans. You're going to have to pay an absolute fortune to New Orleans to get him out of that contract. So forget that one. So therefore, like we said a few moments ago, you've got to promote one of the staff from inside. You tell me someone on our coaching staff who is fit to be a head coach of this team. Flores, possibly, but can you promote Flores over the top of Austin and Canada without sacking Austin and Canada? And what does that say to Terrell Austin and Matt Canada? Oh, you guys are useless. We're taking someone from who's below you to be your head coach. It just doesn't work. You can't do that.
One quick side question too. I forgot about Danny Smith. Should they fire Danny Smith?
No, honestly, the special teams did all right yesterday. I can't see a problem with them. Danny Smith. What effect does Danny Smith have on the? Yeah, the special teams aren't a problem. Well, other than the fact that what's he called? Not Percy Harvin. Presley Harvin is absolutely awful.
He was though punting into the wind, of course, too sometimes as well. It was a windy day out there, and I think it's a hard day for any punter or kicker. Now, I do think there are some, decisions where Tom was going for field goals where they should have went for fourth down, stuff like that. I understand that kind of stuff. But, yeah, let me know in the comments below, guys. Like, okay, I live in my fears that the Super Bowl success, and that's Tomlin's, it was all Big Ben, and that's his success. But right now, let me know why. Is it because, I can think of a few reasons why I think they maybe should get rid of Tomlin, but they won't do it. But I would probably say the fourth down management and stuff like that, where they probably should go for it. However, if you go for it and you don't get it, he's in trouble. If they go for the kick and they miss it, he's in trouble. If they go for the kick and they get the points, he's in trouble. He's constantly on the chopping block because he's a head coach. And to me, the Fire Tomlin crowd loves the idea, I think, of being right overall. Mm-hmm. I really do. I really do think they love the idea of being right overall. And they can call us homers, they can call us whatever you want, just don't call me an idiot. But I think they like being, right overall. And this to me, if I'm the Rooneys, right, and I had Tomlin for the last 15 years and he's been successful, and we haven't had a losing season since 2003, logic tells you don't fire that coach. You know what I'm saying? How would you fire that coach if he's been successful and you are getting 8-8 and a chance to go to the playoffs? You wouldn't fire that coach. The grass is always greener, right? Why would you get rid of Tomlin and then bring someone else in when the reality is that he's done well for your organization? And 2003 is a long time that we've had a chance to go to the playoffs every single year. And now this is the one where we're 1-4 and we're still, optimistically, we still have a chance to grow and get better, right? What are your final thoughts? We'll wrap it up. So we've talked about you don't want Mike Tomlin fired. I don't want Mike Tomlin fired. You don't want, you want change in defense. We both want change with the Matt Canada situation. What are your final thoughts going forward, Owen? What can we, like I said, we want to lay the foundation to let our voices be heard, to let you know where we're coming from. And hopefully you guys watch most of the podcast to get our thoughts, and we want to hear yours below. But what are your final thoughts of this team? Because I'm going to end with some really positive stuff.
I think there's got to be major schematic changes over this next week, and what that involves, like I said, I think I would sack Canada, promote Sullivan, reorganize the defensive staff, and come up with a new scheme. It's got to be schematically changed. But if we get the scheme right, there's no reason why we cannot come back from this, because we have the players out there. Whether TJ Watt plays or not, you've still got Pickens, you've still got Pickett, you've still got Freiermuth, you've still got Harris on the offense. And I'm not including Deontay and Chase for a reason. You've got, on the defense, you've still got Cam, Minka, Miles Jack. You've still got Alex Highsmith. You've still got quality there. And there's still a potential to do well. Change it schematically, up the scheme, change the offense the way it plays to suit Pickett. We'll have success. It's not rocket science.
Yeah, I agree with you. I really do, but I believe you said it in the live, or the knee-jerk reaction live we did yesterday, saying that Matt Canada is probably the cancer, right? And it kind of stems from that. And of course, schematically on defense, on offense. And this is a time I think that, yeah, Coach Tomlin, I think over the next few days, should go out there and fire Canada. That needs to happen. Now, here's to me being the most positive, and then we'll end it there. For me, being positive, this team, they're 2 games from the AFC North. But Mark, why? We're not a playoff team right now. But playoff teams aren't really born in October, are they, Owen?
No.
They're getting ready to move forward, but they're not born in October. Everyone was calling for Trubisky to get out. What did Mike Tomlin do? Got him out. And that short high was like, okay. And now they're calling Pickett to get out. It's unbelievable how fast we can change things, because I believe they should play Pickett the whole time. And I believe they can come back in this team when Watt gets back. And even without Watt, I believe they can, if they change up defensively, we're still only 2 games behind. Tom Brady's coming to town next week. Can we beat them at this very moment now, being, the post game and day after? Probably not. But there's still optimism, I think, around this team, because we're 1-4, and you've seen like today the Jets beat the Dolphins, right? They have no quarterback. They're going to be playing Skylar Thompson or whoever that is, right? The only rule, I guess, the real hard one is the Philadelphia Eagles are 5-0, and then we get a bye. If we can sneak away with a few games, and of course they need to get better, but I think it all starts with firing Canada or firing something like that, changing offensively, and this team can still win because we're 2 games away from the North. And yes, right now we hold the number 1 overall pick, but you look at the talent we have. They need a big moment where they get shaken by the shoulder pads, and then things start to move, because it can go south real quick. But on the other side, Owen, too, it can go north real fast as well. Yeah. Right? Any last final thoughts, and we'll wrap it up.
Like, do you know what? The one thing that you've got to say to these players, the coaches have got to get across real clear to these players, is what Troy Polamalu said in his Hall of Fame speech. He said that, and when you're wearing the black and gold suit of armor, make sure nobody desecrates it or disrespects it. And most importantly, we ourselves don't dishonor it. That's what they've got to get across to those players big time before the Buccaneers game.
Yeah, that's true. And actually, I feel good about this podcast, this mini podcast. We'll put it, it's going to be on Pittsburgh Steelers Syndicate. We enjoy you guys' comments, and I think it's helped us, for me, lay the foundation where we sit, because it's not just all on Pickett, it's not just all on this guy, that guy, but there's fundamentally some key errors and culture problems with this team right now, because you can't be losing 38-3. That was the worst loss, I think, in Tomlin's history, and the worst loss in Pittsburgh Steelers history since 1990. Anyways, I believe they can turn it around, Owen. I know you do too. We're not going to be sour grapes for the whole next of the 10 games or whatever, how many games we have left, 11 games. No way. We don't do that. We're going to be here making videos and seeing who's coming back, talking about how they can get better, because they can always get better. It can't really get too worse. And I think this is like a real wake-up call, but there needs to be changes made. Thank you, Owen, for helping me out on this adventure with the Pittsburgh Steelers Syndicate. We're close to 1,600 subs, I think.
That's pretty good, man. Pretty good.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for your support.
Yeah, we're getting up there, having a good time. And we thank you guys for checking out the podcast. And let us know in the comments below. Let us know what's going on. I thought that was a really good podcast. We could play it 3 or 4, 5 times in a row. We've now set the foundation of what we feel about this team and the players. We just got to go see them and act upon what is happening, and it needs to be changed at certain levels. Anyways, guys, I will say it today, and if you want to finish after me, Owen, here we go, Steelers. Here we go.
Here we go, Steelers. Come on.